At dinner, my own hand hit my husband's face. One slap, loud enough that my sister gasped. In his own dining room, in front of everyone. I still hear that sound sometimes when the house gets quiet. My name is Michelle. I'm 34. Been married to Daniel for 7 years. He's a contractor. Works with his hands 6 days a week, sometimes 7. We were sitting around the table that evening. Me, Daniel, my parents, my 2 brothers, my sister. All of us crowded into the dining room of the house Daniel had bought before he ever met me. His name on the deed. His mortgage. His table we were all sitting at. My mother was talking, like she always did, about money, about ambition, about how Daniel needed to work harder, provide better, do more. I had heard that speech 1,000 times. I never interrupted it. Never once told her to stop. Daniel always stayed quiet through it. Head down, jaw tight, quiet. That night something shifted in him. I could see it before he even opened his mouth. Something behind his eyes that said he was done swallowing it. Maybe if I wasn't supporting 6 extra people, we'd have more money. The whole table went still. Not a fork moved. I felt heat crawl up my neck into my face. I looked at him, asked him what he just said. And before I finished that sentence, my hand was already moving. The slap landed hard and fast. My sister made a sound. Daniel touched his cheek slowly and looked at me. Not with anger, with something quieter than anger. Something that looked like the last door closing. I told him not to dare disrespect my mother. My dad stood up, demanded Daniel apologize immediately. Daniel looked around that table. He took his time doing it. Looked at my mother, my father, my brothers, my sister. Every single person who had been living in his house for 5 years without paying a single dollar in rent. Without contributing a single thing. Without once saying thank you. He looked at all of us and said one word. No. He pushed his chair back, stood up slowly, said he was done, walked upstairs without another word. I thought he just needed to cool down. I thought he'd come back to the table in 20 minutes and we'd all pretend it didn't happen like we always did. Then I heard him moving around upstairs. Drawers opening. Closet. Bathroom cabinet. He came back down with a duffel bag. Clothes packed. Toiletries. His laptop. He looked at me one last time. Said he'd be back tomorrow. Walked out the front door. He never came back. I met Daniel 8 years ago at a church barbecue. He was steady and quiet in the way that makes you feel safe. We got married a year later. Small ceremony. My whole family was there. They loved him then. Or at least they smiled at him then. 2 years into our marriage, my dad's construction company went under. He lost everything almost overnight. I panicked. I asked Daniel if my parents could stay with us temporarily, just until my dad found work again. Daniel said yes, without a single hesitation. That should have told me who he was. That should have meant something to me. Instead, I treated his generosity like a starting point and kept pulling. A few months became a year. Then another. My younger brother needed a place. Then my sister. Then my other brother. The guest room, the basement, the converted den. Every corner of Daniel's 3-bedroom house filled up with my family. 5 extra people. Daniel worked 60-hour weeks to keep the lights on for all of us. Construction jobs, renovation contracts, anything that paid. He came home every night with sore hands and tired eyes to a house full of noise, mess, and people who never asked how his day went. My mother made comments about money almost every week. My dad complained about things around the house. My brothers left dishes in the sink and came and went like it was a hotel. I stopped working 2 years in. Told myself I was needed at home to help my mother, who had some kind of health issue I never looked at too closely. The truth I wouldn't say out loud was simpler. I had gotten comfortable. We all had. And Daniel kept quiet. Kept showing up. Kept paying for everything. I told myself that's what family does. That he understood. That he was fine. I told myself a lot of things that let me avoid looking at what was actually happening. The locks were changed the next afternoon. I found out when I pulled into the driveway, and my key didn't turn. I called him 17 times. He didn't answer. I texted. I begged. When he finally picked up that evening, his voice was completely level. like he'd already made his peace with everything before I even called. He told me I made my choice when I slapped him. I told him to come home. He said it wasn't his home anymore. Then I found out about the utilities. Electric, gas, water, internet. All of it disconnected. Effective the next morning. My family spent that night in their cars in the driveway of the house we'd lived in for 5 years. I called Daniel screaming.
He stayed calm.
Said he'd shut everything off. Said I should have thought about this before I hit him in his own house. My father left voicemails with threats. My brothers sent angry messages. My mother recorded a long message about what a terrible husband Daniel was. None of it moved him. I drove to his job site 2 days later. Hadn't slept. Eyes swollen. He was framing a deck when I pulled up. His whole crew watched me walk across the site. I asked him to please come home. Told him my family was in a motel now. $90 a night. We couldn't keep it up. He said that wasn't his problem. I reminded him they were my family. He said he used to be my husband. I told him I was sorry. I meant it. He asked me what I wanted him to do. I asked him to let us back in for just 1 month. Just 30 days, so we could find somewhere to go. If I signed the divorce papers. He looked at me for a long moment. I thought I saw something shift. Then he said no. Said the house stays locked. Said that was final. I started crying harder. He walked back to his crew without looking back. Over the next 2 weeks, my family tried everything. My dad showed up at Daniel's job site and had to be removed by security. My brother posted on social media calling Daniel abusive, saying he had thrown a sick woman and her family out onto the street with nothing. It spread around our town quickly. For a day or two, I thought it might help. Then Daniel's friends started responding. People who had actually watched him carry my family for 5 years. One of his crew posted that Daniel had fed 6 people for half a decade while they contributed nothing. That he was the most patient man he'd ever worked with. That we were lucky he hadn't billed us for back rent. The comments turned fast. People started asking why none of us had worked. Why one man had been expected to support an entire extended family indefinitely. I had no answer for that. I deleted my accounts and stopped looking.
My sister got a job.
My brother moved in with his ex. My parents found a small apartment across town. I signed the divorce papers at Daniel's lawyer's office. Couldn't look at him while I did it. Told him quietly that he had ruined my family. He didn't answer. The divorce finalized 6 weeks later. No alimony.
Clean break.
The house stayed his. He repainted it. Cleared everything out. Started over. 6 months later, I saw him at a grocery store. He looked different. Lighter. Like a man who had set down something very heavy and finally remembered what it felt like to breathe. He nodded when he saw me and kept walking. I called after him. He stopped and turned around. I told him my family had stopped speaking to me. That after everything collapsed, they blamed me. Said I should have managed him better.
Kept him happy.
My own mother told me I was worthless for losing him. He said he was sorry to hear that. I asked if he really meant it. He said yes. That nobody deserves that. Not even me. I told him I finally understood. All of it. What my family had been doing. What I had let them make me into. I told him he had been right about everything. That I had chosen them over him every single time, and I was sorry for it. He nodded. Said he appreciated that. Then I asked him if it changed anything. He said no. I already knew it wouldn't. I asked him one more thing. Whether he was happy now. He thought for just a moment.
Said yes.
Without hesitation. Without performance. Just yes. Good. I told him. You deserve it. I watched him walk out through the automatic doors. I stood there in the cereal aisle for a long time after he was gone, thinking about his quiet house, his peaceful mornings, everything I had been too blind to protect when I still had the chance. He had given us 5 years of his life without complaint, and I had thrown it away in 1 second with one hand. That's the part I'll never stop living with.